Luke Freer with some well-deserved recognition, national recognition for what he did at Utah State. I mean, he'd rank near the top or at the top Air Force punting career, near or at the top in the nation. To what degree are you really pleased with the weapon that he's become on special teams for you?
You know, Jesse, you look at it, Luke is a high achiever in everything that he does. And, you know, we've always felt like he had a really strong leg. We saw that early during his freshman year. And but some of the finer points, just the attention that he's put towards being able to accelerate a get-off time without feeling rushed in his mechanics. And there's a clear difference now from what he, from where he was 2 years ago, and it's neat to see. It's been well earned.
Him being a high achiever and a guy that you brought to Vegas to represent your program in media days, to what degree is he more than just a punter, if that's even fair? What does he mean to your locker room as a leader?
Well, just the example, the poise, the presence, the humility that he has, yet the sheer dedication to his individual job. And what a great example he is that way.
Just watching this film with the young defense, kind of what do you see from some of the mistakes that they made and just how they're ready to correct that?
Well, every game's a new learning experience, and honestly, we need as many of them as we can possibly get. I think, there's a communication piece that you realize is so important every single down. The other part is the realization when it comes to playing college football, and probably as much in the current era as it's ever been, where how big, how thick, how old those bodies are and how swiftly they move to be able to operate and play faster, and how important that is going forward.
It feels like no matter who's the coach at Boise State, they've had like 3 or 4 since Peterson. They've had a standard of excellence. What makes that program kind of special and continuing to be such a good program?
Your point on. I mean, I think if you went back and you looked Pokey Allen and Dirk Cutter or Dan Hawkins, you're absolutely right. The continuum that's occurred there, and a real credit, to the university, the community, and just how strong they have been. And again, this year, another really fine team.
Coach, you mentioned communication. You've been coaching for a number of years. Do you find that now players don't communicate as much as they used to?
I don't. I think our guys are going to be really good at it. We got to continue to show them how, and for them to learn, hey, the necessity of it, and how helpful it is, not only just for the individual player, but the way that elevates the teammate that's alongside of you too.
Is some of the mistakes, guys, all of your players are obviously highly motivated, driven people, maybe just trying to do too much?
I don't feel that way. I really don't. You just need to see how fast it happens in a game and just respond with more immediacy and just kind of cut it loose a little bit too.
Coach, with the young players that you have on this roster, when you have a loss like that, what's sort of the message you tell your guys when you're relying on these young guys and you're looking to bounce back and you have to file this one away to move on to the next one?
Well, we want to take every experience and learn as much as we possibly can. Is there maybe a little bit of where the jug becomes tapped to a degree, depending on what situations or circumstances or assignments were required? Perhaps, yet you got to take advantage of that. That's a great thing about it. Game experience is invaluable, and we gotta draw as much from it as we possibly can.
Back to Luke for real quick. Given his ability, does it change the equation in your mind when you're considering situations and if you want to punt or not?
Perhaps. I don't think, to answer your question, no, probably not greatly, to be real. I think that, let's say realistically over a long haul, a net punt's more likely to be 43 or 45 at most for the most part, instead of maybe 38 or 39. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Now, was there an instance where I can recall where it has happened in a game? I remember we played San Diego State here at home, in 2021. Goodness gracious, you want to talk about a massive field swap. That did occur on that particular night.
And well, speaking of Heisman Trophy candidates, they Boise State obviously had the runner-up last year at running back in the same system. Do you see remnants of that attack? Even though he's gone, do you still see that ability in what?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a perfect case in point. If you looked at the number of explosives that they've had offensively, especially in the most recent game, outworks because they are very effective in how well they run the ball by having really capable guys doing it. But the other part of what it does too, I mean, now you get where you have so many guys near the line of scrimmage because you feel obligated to commit in order to stop the run that, there's a little more space back behind you.
In the past, they've had a primary feature back that gets a lot of the carries. Looks like they're spreading it out a little bit more. One of those guys being Malik Sherrod. What dynamic does he add to their offense?
Well, I mean, you just look at it. I mean, just like I said, I mean, how the large gains that they have. If you want to measure it by 15 plus yards, the number of plays that immediately get to 7 yards past the line of scrimmage, and to have the depth, it's pretty impressive. And, and you said it earlier. I mean, just my goodness, I remember it would have been 2011. I think it was Martin. I think he was a first-round pick by the Buccaneers, and you go through McNichols, and the other day the Steelers are playing or the Seahawks are playing. A guy recovers a fumble in the end zone on a kickoff, and hey, I remember that guy too. I mean, yeah.
Wide receiver-wise, they've been waiting in Boise for a long time for Chris Marshall to kind of hit his stride. It seems like he's done that 33 yards a catch. I'm sure that pops off to you and your defensive staff.
Yeah, like I said, explosives. That's well beyond what you'd consider an explosive mark. And to have that kind of average, yeah.
Liam had 3 rushing touchdowns. Did you kind of see a little bit of growth just trying to execute the offense there at the end?
I did. Both guys I did. We got a limit as a whole offensively, to have four different balls on the ground, you're going to have a hard time winning when that's the case, and that sounds basic, but when you talk about turnover margin and it's, our first game, it's 2-0 in favor of the Falcons, but when it goes the other direction, really what you've done, you've immediately, it's like you hear it, it's a lot like a block punt, just because your series has subsided and the defense gets to inherit immediately at that spot. Boy, that makes it hard, and that's where really across the board, that's being strong with your hands. That's being able to see a walk up and knowing if I got to redirect a protection or if it's in a pass protection of not undersetting or oversetting. Those are little details that absolutely come into play. But for him specifically, I did.
Back to the running back position over there. Dylan Riley's numbers really stand out. I think he's a sophomore, very small sample size, but could he be a guy you need to prepare for to see a larger role as his role expands?
You're saying in our preparation this week.
And do you think do you anticipate him being a guy who could jump to 15, 20 carries, or do you expect to see a number of guys?
I don't. I'll tell you this: we're looking at from a 3D perspective, and are there considerations, maybe call-wise, that we have with one guy in particular? There are. I wouldn't say extensively, but there'll be an awareness.
And just, you talked about the offense and the turnovers. Take those away, and there were a lot of positives on that side of the ball. On defense, what positives did you take out of what you saw?
The effort and assignment-wise being really sound. Yet, being able to be assignment sound and being in the right gap is different from being disruptive and creating plays and production. And there's part of that, and I realize perspective-wise that takes at-bats or time, but I think it's okay to keep pushing in that direction.
And this series has produced some big wins for Air Force over the years. And obviously, like last week, this is the last time you'll be seeing them. Do you have any kind of, can you reflect on any of those? Maybe 2014, 2015, 16? I mean, what that meant for your program at the time?
Yeah, you're asking me to go back here a little bit. There were good ones, probably both ways. I mean, I thought in 2021 was huge there. Probably really what was the turning point in that was just, my goodness, the discipline part of it, how invaluable that was. I think back to 2019 when I looked out there on that field, I thought these are two really, really good football teams. I remember thinking that day, both these teams, man, got a pretty good shot to win 10-plus games, and they did. In 2014, looking back, they were incredibly gifted. I mean, that was that Grant Hedrick and Ajay, and I mean, that's a team that went on. They won 12 games, I believe, and won the league. And I think they played in the Fiesta Bowl that year. They have really, really good teams, and there have been moments, not always, to be frank. Certainly, it wasn't in 17, 18, or 20, where there have been some good encounters.
2014 game, obviously Weston Steelhammer was a sophomore at the time with 3 picks, and could you see some parallels potentially presenting themselves this week? Because you do have a young secondary with a lot of talent, guys who, I guess, in Weston's, progression, how much did that game help him? And could you, if the opportunity presented itself this week for somebody to step up and make some plays, could you see that being a launch?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think really Weston had a bunch of snaps in practice and even a little bit in games, especially in practice, the year before in 2013. And so it wasn't like we weren't. Yeah, I mean, every day in practice, he was in the 2 deep, or you could tell this guy's got an awful lot of ability. And to be frank, I don't know if we have, we don't have those invested snaps. We need to. We got to keep pouring it into guys. So I'm not going to sit there and say this is 61 and all of a sudden 1961 Amaris is going to hit 61 homers, out of the blue. I don't think so, to answer your question.
Well, he had been MVP in 60, so it wasn't out of the blue. But the guy's coming in, Bruin Fleischman, an Idaho native, and a guy who caught a couple passes last week. Like, what could his role be, and then what has he meant, like Jesse mentioned, to the program?
Bruin, you're talking about. Yeah. I think the thing that's so evident about Bruin, just the maturity that he has on the field, off the field, the dependability as a human being, and strong student, embraces whatever's in front of him, is that competitive as a football player and somebody, just in your heart. It won't take too long, and the more you interact with him, you realize, oh my gosh, thank goodness this guy's going to be serving as a leader for our country.
All right, well, that's a perfect place to start. Tight ends getting catches. I mean, you got 2 last week. You obviously have a little bit of history of that. Like, could this be the year the tight end position flourishes a little bit?
Well, statistically speaking, like, we're on a good start, right? We have more catches than we do games played so far. I think the previous tight end here, Caleb Rillos, his most he ever had in a game was 2 receptions, so I tied that last week. So I'm hoping I can beat that one. But yeah, I think so. I think our quarterbacks and our offense is powered in a way that we can throw really well, and we can also run too, and we have that dual threat this year, as we can see with all the passing yards and rushing yards in the past 2 games. So I would expect some more of that, and I'm excited for it, and I hope we do.
Yeah, and especially this week, I would kind of, growing up in. Did you grow up in Idaho your whole life? Okay. What was kind of your relationship with Boise State as a fan, as a spectator?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was a fan growing up, right? You always see the blue and orange everywhere in Idaho. It's kind of the biggest team there because there's not a pro team in the state. I lived really close to Idaho State, so I'd say I knew more about Idaho State. Both my parents went there. But yeah, I don't think I ever went to a Boise State game, but I did go to an Idaho Potato Bowl, and that was up in the blue turf. And so ever since that, it was always kind of cool and nostalgic.
Bruin, one of the words Coach used to describe you was dependable. How much do you pride yourself on being consistent and dependable week by week?
I just think that's like a determining factor to like how successful you'll be. And if you show up every single day, it's easy to get better, right? If you miss days, it's easy to start stacking that and being like, oh, I missed this day, so it's easy. I can miss the next day. And then that starts rolling. And I don't think that's just with football. I think it's all aspects of life. So like in the classroom, I think your grades are have a direct relationship with going to class, right? A lot of people are like, I don't know why I did bad on this test and they didn't show up to class. And it's like, well, it's probably because you didn't show up to class. So I think just that discipline and being there is like 75% of the battle.
Hey, Bruin, how you doing? Good, thanks. You mentioned the blue and orange just everywhere. I'm curious, obviously you live closer to Idaho State, followed them more, but the Smurf turf there, the program, the years of consistency, what is just the overall feeling when it comes to that team?
Well, they're well coached every single year. They're a staple in the Mountain West, right? Every year you know what you're going to get, and I think that's just exactly why teams want to play them, and people are so excited because they're a good team, and like you get your shot at them, and I think that we can go out and give them a run for their money.
And I got to ask Bruin, what's the origin of that name? And it's a unique name, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, so all my siblings have pretty unique names. My older brother's name is Titan, and it worked out well. He's 6'5", 300 pounds. He plays for Montana State, so he is a Titan. My little brother's name is Xenophon, and that's like our Greek ancestor's name. And then my little sister's name's Electra, after the comic book character. But I actually don't know where the origin of Bruin comes from. I think it's the most normal name out of the four of us, but yeah, I don't know where the direct origin comes from. They just wanted something unique and I guess powerful, and so they came up with Bruin.
It's a pretty cool name, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it.
Just offensively, is the emphasis this week is protecting the football?
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely protecting the football, right? We were still able to put up 30 points and a bunch of yards, both rushing and passing last week. And I think if we limit those turnovers, we can help the defense out and we'll help ourselves out and hopefully turn those 3 turnovers into points, which is the goal of every single possession we have.
What do you see from Liam and Josh? And do you see any differences on how they call the huddle, how they play, and just their progress?
I honestly think they're both really good leaders, and I never really noticed which one was in the game because they both kind of conducted it the same way and they handled themselves the same, and our offense still flows the same no matter which quarterback's in there, which is good. That's exactly what you want, and I think they both excel in their own things, their own way, and I think going forward, I think we'll still see both of them play a lot, just like I said before. I think they're a good fit for the offense, and they're still young. I remember when I was a junior and I was playing, it was hard. Liam Zarka is a sophomore, and he's playing, so they'll start getting that under their belt and get more experience, and we'll get rolling even better here shortly.
I know you're a senior, but I'm curious what your thoughts are of just Boise State leaving the Mountain West and you guys not being able to play them anymore or won't be.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, how they're a staple to the Mountain West, right? Growing up, they were always in the Mountain West, and they're joining the Pac-12 now, which is kind of unique to me because the Pac-12 is always those West schools like Stanford and stuff. And so it's just a little different, notion-wise, but ultimately it'll be a good change for them, and I think we're fine staying in the Mountain West. I think all of that will work out how it's supposed to be.
And I'm curious, how nice has it been playing on the same team with your cousin Isaac and your relationship with him?
Yeah, so I have 2 cousins on the team. Isaac's older brother, Ty, is also on the team, and that's super cool. to just have that connection, right? It doesn't matter what game we're at. Like, there's always going to be some sort of family that's there, whether my family can't make it or his can't make it. We'll have somebody there, and so it's really cool. It's like a mini family reunion every single Saturday, and it's just cool too to have that bond before you come here too, because the school is unique. And once you get here, you're like, oh, like I don't know what I'm really doing, but having people prior relationships of people you knew before, it really helped. And it's just cool. Like, you would think we grew up in the same state, and we didn't. We grew up across the country. He grew up in Georgia. I grew up in Idaho, and we both ended up at the same school. So it's really cool, and I'm super grateful for it.
What do you see from their defense and really their defensive front?
So they seem like they're not doing anything too crazy, and they always are just Boise State, right? They're not going to do anything too unique to prepare for us just because we run the triple option, which from our standpoint is nice because we don't have to like prep some crazy special looks that you get when you play other schools. So it should be pretty straightforward. Everything should be in, and it should be a good game.
Which Potato Bowl did you see?
I think Fresno State played in it, but I can't remember. It was maybe 2013. So when I was about 10 years old, I can't remember. All I remember is just the blue turf, and I went up to a game, and like later my dad mentioned it, and he was like, yeah, we didn't even watch the Broncos. I was like, oh, like then what team did we watch? And it wasn't a state championship, so it must have been the Idaho Potato Bowl. So that's, yeah, I completely forgot about it.
Would that have been, did you ever want to go there? Or like kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was always kind of a dream growing up as a kid to go to Boise, and I had an offer from there when I was making my decision, but it ultimately came down to the service academy or go play at Montana State with my older brother. So it was those two schools here and there, and I obviously chose Air Force.
All right. And, just seeing where the defense needs some help, like how excited are you for what you can bring, just knowing what you've done in the past and again, what you can bring now that you're healthy?
I think it's always exciting to be able to like come back and kind of put that aside, all the issues I had. But I think it's more than just what I can bring, but what the whole team can bring. So I don't think that one guy is going to make a huge impact. I think it's more of a collective between everybody being on the same page, communicating. That's what the big focus is for this week, with different motions, different sets, how well we can communicate to each other is going to be our key focus. So I don't think one guy is going to have that detrimental. Jackson Adams, who stepped in for me week one, he did a tremendous job. I love that guy, and I don't think there's going to be that much difference between me or him on the field. I think he's got the same abilities I have. So I think it's not just one thing that will change the defense. I think all of us collectively working together will just be just as good as we are.
What sort of challenges do you see from Boise State's offense, and what's going to be the key to slowing them down?
Yeah, Boise State, as we all know, great team. Produced legendary Ashton Genty. I think their run game is going to be good. I think just kind of looking at this past week, what got taken advantage of us in a sense of the RPO game. So I think being able to, how are we best going to tackle that moving forward? How are we going to communicate? The run's going to be a big issue. They got a great O-line, great running backs. So I think that's going to be our main focus is stopping the run and taking that out and let them air it out and let our DBs hunt. So.
Dylan, Coach said some of the mistakes have just been lack of communication. How do you guys clean that part up?
I think just everyday practice, not letting the difference between Monday and then Friday walkthroughs, not letting it falter or kind of slip by the wayside, always having that same attention to detail, over communicating, always talking. If you're not talking on defense, you're already losing. So I think just always continually talking until that ball snaps, and then when it is snapped, continue to talk, screen, all this stuff, pull. I think that's going to be a big thing that we're going to keep doing, and we're going to take it from this week and then the rest of the season forward.
But on the D line, though, because everyone's behind you, right? You don't turn around and how does that part work? I guess
it comes down to our just amazing linebackers. As an edge player, I try to do my best to call things out before I get set. What kind of sets I see? Are they in 4x1? Do we have highway alignment between the H and the running back to alert slice, anything across our face? So doing that before we get set, and then kind of once I'm down there, putting the full faith in the backers and our secondary to when they see any other motion come across, toy motion, anything like that, that they can tackle it and communicate between themselves. And the boys up front, we can go hunt. So.
How we doing today, Daniel?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Just watching the film though back, what are some of the things that you saw from this defense that maybe you could see that needs to change on Saturday?
Open field tackling, rallying to the ball. I think is a big thing. That's one of our big emphasis we've always had, is that you want to expect your teammate to miss the tackle so that you are there to help make more tackles. If we have more guys in blue at the ball, I think it's better for our defense in a whole and the rest of the team. So just being able to make sure we can get the ball carrier on the ground, make sure we can rally to the ball, making those open field tackles, which are hard, but they're necessary, and then communicating too. I think that was a big issue with kind of how Utah State took advantage of their motioning, how they spread us out and kind of get those open field one-on-ones they wanted. So I think avoiding those would be our best case going forward.
And Boise State, ton of playmakers, so tackling is going to be important this week. Is that just a big point of emphasis right now in practice?
It'll be a big emphasis today. Yesterday I was kind of just getting ready with the game plan, kind of going over our mistakes from Utah, and then kind of just moving on, realizing there's still a long season ahead of us. Boise State, great opponent, excited for that game. So getting ready, getting a good solid game plan set up.
You mentioned being excited for this game. Is this kind of a game against a premier program in the Mountain West that will really get the confidence going of some of the younger guys and everybody else?
Oh, absolutely. I think having them at home too is going to be another huge, just with our fan base there, everything like that. And just knowing the legends that have come from that school is just a unique opportunity to be able to play them. And it's something that I don't want any player to take for granted, the opportunities we have. So I think it's just going to be a great matchup, great game. So definitely tune in.
You always bring a lot of perspective to things. Like, are you aware of, the series and some of the big wins Air Force has had against Boise State?
So I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but not really. I don't look back on much of the past. I'm not a huge, which is probably going to get me a lot of hate, but I don't go back and look at all the iconic games that we've had.
Okay, then I'll cancel that line of questioning. But what is the opportunity, when you have a game like this, especially given the fact that they're exiting the conference and this will be it?
Yeah, I think kind of like with our mindset when we played Fresno and Oregon State last year was this is our last chance we really have to go up against them. And I think it's just amazing opportunity to be able to say that my last season is the last time Air Force really is going to be able to play Boise State. So give it your all, give it a great game, kind of go out there and just kind of put it all out there on the line and let people know who Air Force is. That last week doesn't define us, that, we're a real contender for this conference, and that when all these big powerhouses do leave the conference, it's not just going to be, Air Force is winning now because they're gone. No, we can win when they're still here. So I think that'll be a big thing with kind of their last season in the conference.
Last thing on the defense, as a leader, how important is it to you to make sure the tone is that there's a hunger coming off of what happened Saturday as opposed to doubt that creeps in that could snowball?
Absolutely. Something I was telling the guys after the game was have faith. Have faith in God, have faith in each other, have faith in our coaching, our schemes, have faith that this is only game 2, week 3 for us, that there's still 10 more games ahead of us, that there's still a long road to go, and to get caught up on a speed bump now can detrimentalize us for the rest of the season. And also, being a little selfish, this is my last season, so I do want to be able to go out with a bang, and there is a lot of younger guys that have stepped up that I think are going to be tremendous athletes. So just having them buy in sooner and step up to that more veteran role now, I think is going to be crucial for this year and then the next couple years to come when it's going to be their team.